Well, I'm lucky enough to be joined by, now I've got to get this right, Professor and Reverend June Boyce-Tillman. Is that right? I mean, how do you actually introduce somebody of your stature?
Well, it's usually Reverend Professor. It's usually that way round.
That sounds very, very exciting. A Reverend Professor. You're rather unusual, aren't you? And if you don't mind, can I call you June?
You can call me June, that's right. It's fine.
Now, what exactly do you do, Reverend Professor June Boyce-Tillman?
Oh, well, what I do is a variety of things. I do what an ordinary priest would do in terms of celebrating the Eucharist and preaching. And I do that in general on Sundays and sometimes in the weekdays in Winchester Cathedral. And then in the university, I'm a professor of applied music and I convene a centre for the arts as well-being. And as part of that, I write pieces for a variety of people. I'm also a hymn writer, which crosses the boundaries between the two. So it crosses the boundary between being a composer and being a priest. And I write books. I write books about education, about theology, trying to bring education, theology, interfaith dialogue, and the arts all together. I'm really concerned about how the arts and spirituality and well-being interface with one another to make people's lives feel that they have some meaning, because I think that's a huge problem for our society, that we tend to construct meaning by the next thing we buy, the next Samsung phone that's out or what have you. But how do we find a meaning that is deeper than that and more embracing, more motivational?
Now, without getting too stuck into the nitty-gritty, because we only have a small amount of time to discuss this, and I hope that in later conversations we can develop more themes talking about spirituality and people's connection to it and why it's needed ecumenically. It doesn't matter whether you're whatever you believe in, right?
Because we're all connected anyway. I mean, whether we see it or not, we are all connected in a grand web of life. And, in a sense, we're connected with people we've never met in Japan and with the insects who are working away in my garden at the moment and the worms who are beavering away under the earth. I mean, we are all connected. We often forget it, but we are.
And you found an amazing way to bring together what's happening right now in the world, the zeitgeist, so to speak, and bringing that into a musical collaboration with people in Winchester. For those of you watching who don't know where Winchester is, in the south of England, which is a very old city that used to be the capital of England, I think, years and years ago.
So the capital of the Wessex Kingdom, and when England was divided up. Yeah.
There you go. See, I get a history lesson with this as well. It's perfect. Now, what exactly are you doing? What is this? Is it the Space for Peace?
It's called Space for Peace, and it's a way. We've often done dialogue. We've got a number of ways for doing interfaith dialogue. The worst one, which is what gets most publicity, is at the end of a gun, a bomb, and throwing things through people's windows. And that doesn't seem to be a way of dialogue. We've done quite a lot of dialogue through words, but I think in music and in the arts, you have a much more fuzzy edge to what you do. It isn't so clear, which means you can join in that sort of mystery in some way. And so it gives great scope. I'm fascinated by the way in which peace can operate musically. So what in this particular event people do is they choose in advance what they want to sing for peace. So that will be something like the rabbi chanting lamentations, the imam, the call to prayer, a Buddhist monk chanting one of the sutras. It can be the community choir singing Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom, and the children singing I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Now they've chosen all that in advance, and in the middle section they're scattered all over the cathedral and they sing when they think it's right. Now if you're a Buddhist monk put next door to a Hindu harmonium player, then in a sense you have to work out how what you're doing might fit with hers, what volume level, how often do you sing, and so on. So it's peace from the bottom up. So we can all do what we want to do, but then the onus is on us at the bottom to work out how what we want to do fits with what everybody else wants to do. Now, it seems to me in terms of the contemporary world, that's what went badly wrong in Paris, that people aren't thinking about, in a sense, how what they want to do fits responsibly with what other people want to do. And so the notion is that instead of having peace from the top down, which other name is empire, in a sense, and somebody always rebels, you have peace from the bottom up, where the responsibility is on every single person in society to work out what they want to do with what other people want to do. So in this middle section of Space for Peace, you have this huge diversity of sound with this great Norman cathedral, which is huge shape, massive length, acts as a huge mixing box. And will mix these sounds in its own way. So the cathedral plays a part in it. It plays the part that now what we traditionally do with sliders and things in mixing boxes. But the cathedral for the medieval time was the mixing box. And then having had this great diversity, all these people come down onto a single note, and they sing peace in whatever language they want to sing it in. So shalom, peace, pax, pace, whatever, salam. And so from the great diversity, you go down to a single unity, and they all light candles. It's somewhere between 400 and 600 people, and they process back from wherever they are together to the central part of the cathedral, and then all sing together again. And so you have those two forms that music can show: the great diversity of choice and difference, and then the great unity of a single note. And over the single note, some singers, a saxophone player will improvise over that note. And that moment, as diversity comes into a unity, is an extraordinarily dramatic moment. And people come for this event from all over the country. And some people say, I've just seen what heaven is like. I had no idea how all this lot would fit together, but somehow it does. And it makes me believe that peace is possible. When I watch the news, people say, I despair that we will ever have peace. When I come here, I think that maybe, just maybe, it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like an incredible spectacle to be involved in, not just as a performer, but also for the audience themselves to witness.
There isn't really an audience because they have to join in some of the chants. And as they go round, the Buddhist monk will teach them how to chant a sutra if they want to, and the World Music Choir from London University, from the School of Oriental and African Studies, they will teach them, even get them dancing sometimes. So the division between audience and performers is blurred all the time. So there, that wall, that's another wall that's broken down.
Inclusivity.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Well, it sounds like an absolutely incredible experience. Space for Peace is happening when?
On January 27th in the cathedral, in Winchester Cathedral. It always happens on Holocaust Memorial Day. And it not only remembers the Holocaust, and we do have some candles lit at the beginning and prayers by the rabbi, the school children, and the imam for peace. But not only remembers it, but it actually sets out a new way of being, of embracing diversity, which is the only way that we're ever going to avoid having a Holocaust before. We have to embrace difference. We have to give difference dignity. And that is the only way forward for our society. We have to cross over the road and look in the face of the other and give that person respect. And it seems to me that that is the only way that we will ever have any lasting peace.
It certainly makes sense to me. And I think, really, what better way to attempt to show somebody how that works than through what you're doing. And if people want to check out a website, is there a website to go to?
Yes, it is. It's in the Winchester University website, and it's called Space for Peace. Once you've gone into that, it's under a heading called Foundation Music and Space for Peace.
Okay. And what's the Winchester University website?
www.winchesteruniversity.ac.uk.
Okay. And they can look for Space for Peace there.
Space for Peace. Actually, if you look at Space for Peace on the internet, you will find, particularly under a website called Interfaith Vision, you will find 3 beautiful video recorded interviews of people who were part of it when we did it in the East End of London, following a particularly difficult time in UK history, which was when drummer Rigby was attacked very publicly in the East End. And we did that as some sort of answer to the anti-Islamic feeling that was going on in that particular area. And 3 people, including me actually, being interviewed about what it felt. And that was a very interesting moment in one of those interviews, where in the East End, not Winchester Cathedral is all enclosed and close, but the East End, the church was on one of the main arterial roads in London. So you could stand at the door of the church and hear the rabbi and the imam chanting behind you, but in front there were the ambulances and the buses of London, and people, and one of them, she says it was just amazing to see the mixture of the secular world and the sacred world. And I suppose that's where we started this conversation. So the world of that deepest reality of what some people would call God, or the great mystery or the great spirit, meets the world of the buses and the ambulances tearing along, through the East End of London. And that was, so there's some very moving interviews about it there. And I think if you just Google Space for Peace, you'll find other bits about it.
And I think that is the problem for all of us today, is to work out how to juggle this crazy, exciting and maddening world that happens in tandem, and to find our way through it. So, and this is how I, for those watching, happened across June in the first place, because it's exciting to know that there are people like June out there who are actively navigating the sort of infinite borders between these very strange different realms that we all find difficult to understand. Even June herself has said to me in the past. So if you would like to reach out to June, by the way, her email address is juneboycetillman@gmail.com. So that's June, June, Boyce, Boyce, and Tillman, Tillman, at gmail.com, and send her an email there. But for now, our conversation must come to an end, because that's the time we have set. But there will be more, I suspect, because you are my most fascinating person that I've met ever. So I think I'm going to put you. I'm putting fascinating people that I've ever met on a special kind of trophy wall. This is an awful example, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm utterly thrilled to meet you, June, and I'm loving the ability to share space with you and conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's wonderful to share with you as well. It's always better to share one's ideas than to keep them all trapped in one's head. Thank you very much for allowing me.
The feeling is mutual, and there you have it. Another conversation with a fascinating and amazing person. You saw it here first, and you heard it here too.